All right, let's talk about the love life of the humble fruit fly. It might sound simple, right? A bug chasing another bug. But what we're about to unravel is this incredibly complex world of instinct, genetics, and brain circuitry, all wrapped up in one of life's most fundamental behaviors, courtship.
So, here's our roadmap. We're going to follow a male fly on his romantic quest, starting with the dance itself. Then, we'll dive into the symphony of senses he uses to find and woo a partner. We'll listen in on his love song, uncover the genetic master switch that tells him what to do, and finally, take a peek at the actual circuits in his brain that are hardwired for this whole performance.
Okay, so what does it actually look like when a fruit fly tries to find a mate? Well, it's definitely not random. It's a highly structured, step-by-step ritual, a dance that every male fly seems to know right out of the box.
Yeah, see, this isn't just a simple chase. It's a sophisticated performance, a sequence of moves that's literally hardwired into the male's brain. He doesn't go to dance class for this. He's just born knowing all the steps. It's predictable and it builds up in intensity, kind of like a well-rehearsed play.
And what's really cool is how he builds his routine. He starts with the basics, facing her, following her. If he gets a good vibe, he escalates. He'll tap her, and then he'll start to sing by vibrating a wing. He keeps doing these early steps over and over, and as he gets more motivated, he adds the more intimate moves like licking, all building up to the grand finale.
Now, to pull off this dance, the male needs a constant stream of information, and he gets it by using pretty much all of his senses at once. He's seeing her, he's smelling her, he's tasting her, he's even listening to her, and every single bit of that info helps him decide what to do next.
This really breaks it down nicely. At the beginning, it's all about sight and smell. He spots her and gets a whiff of her scent. But as he gets closer, other senses kick in. Tapping her with his leg, that's actually how he tastes her. And the wing song, well, that's all about sound and whether she reacts or doesn't.
A huge part of this communication is happening through chemicals called pheromones. The female is covered in this stuff called 7-11-HD, which is basically a chemical signal that screams, "Hey, I'm an available female of your species." The male, on the other hand, puts out his own pheromone, CVA, which does two things. It attracts females, and it tells all the other guys in the area to buzz off.
And get this, it turns out there's a specific group of brain cells, these LC10 visual neurons, in the male's brain that are dedicated to one job, spotting and tracking a female. They are hardwired to recognize the movement of a fly-sized object and immediately translate that visual cue into courtship action, like turn towards her or start singing.
All right, let's talk about one of the most famous parts of this whole ritual, the courtship song. And no, it's not just random buzzing. It is a very specific, very important piece of communication.
So what he does is he extends the wing that's closest to the female's head and vibrates it to sing a song that is unique to his species. The song has two parts, a train of little pulses and a sort of continuous hum. And this move is just genius because it does two things at once. It produces the song, and it also wafts his own attractive pheromones right towards her.
And here's why that song is so critical. Think of it like a secret password. Every species of fruit fly has its own unique song. If a female hears the wrong song, she knows he's not the right species, and she'll shut it down. That prevents them from trying to mate with the wrong kind of fly. But if she hears the right song, that's the signal that he's a match.
So how does she even hear this? Well, not with ears like we have. She hears it through her antenna. Buried inside her antenna is this amazing little structure called Johnston's organ, and it's packed with special cells that can detect tiny vibrations. So when he sings, the sound waves make her antenna vibrate, and she hears him. It's an incredibly precise system. Okay, so we've seen the dance and we've heard the song, but what is actually compelling the male to do all this? Why him and not the female? The answer, it turns out, isn't in what he's learned. It's written in his DNA.
And that brings us to this key concept, sexual dimorphism. It just means a trait that's different between males and females. In this case, the courtship behavior itself is sexually dimorphic. Males do it, females don't. And that's because the brain circuits that control the behavior are also different, all based on a different genetic plan.
It really all boils down to two master genes called fruitless and double sex. Now, think of a gene's code like a long strip of film. A process called splicing acts like a film editor, and it cuts and pastes that film differently in males and females. So even though they both have the same gene, the final protein that gets made is either a male version or a female version.
So here's the difference between the two. Think of double sex as the gene that builds the male's body. It controls all the physical stuff. But fruitless, that's the gene that programs his brain for male behavior. I mean, you can have a mutant male fly that looks totally normal, but if his fruitless gene is broken, he has zero interest in courting. He just doesn't have the software to run the program.
So now, let's connect those genes directly to the brain. Let's see the actual circuitry, the wiring diagram for love that controls this whole courtship dance. And believe it or not, scientists can actually see it.
Using some amazing genetic tricks, scientists can literally attach a glowing tag to that male-specific fruitless protein. And when they do that, every single brain cell that's part of the courtship circuit lights up. What we see is this incredible network of about 2,000 neurons, spanning from the top of the brain all the way down the central nervous system. And this is where it all comes together. All that sensory info we talked about, the smell of pheromones, the sight of her moving, it all gets fed into this circuit. The information gets processed and sent to a kind of command center of neurons called P1. Once P1 gets the green light, it sends signals down the line to other neurons that, in turn, tell the wing muscles to start the song. It's a direct line from sensing to doing.
So after all that, you might be asking, why spend so much time studying a tiny fly's brain? What can this little guy really teach us about something as big and complex as our own brains and our own behaviors? Well, it turns out, quite a lot. So here are the big takeaways. First, we learn that complex, innate behaviors are actually built up from a series of simpler steps. Second, we see how the brain is a master at integrating information from many different senses to guide an action. But maybe the most profound lesson is that a single master gene, like fruitless, can literally build an entire neural circuit for a specific complex behavior from the ground up.
And that leaves us with a really fascinating thought to chew on. We've just seen the genetic blueprint for courtship in a fly, all controlled by one master switch. It really makes you wonder, what other blueprints, what other master switches are hiding in the DNA of all animals, shaping the instincts and behaviors that we all have, including us?